another in the fire. Oh, all my dead left for dead beneath the waters. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. Should I fall in the space between what remains of me in this reckoning? I know I will never be alone. I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire standing next to me. There is another in the waters holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminded of how I've been set free, I'll count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. I can see the light and the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar and the heavens as the space between west and I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and who is and will be through it all. So come on me in the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire standing next to me. There is another in the waters holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminded of how I've been set free, I'll count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. There is another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh, another in the fire. Oh, there is another in the fire. Oh.
Josh, can you give her some volume? Jelly.
These are some hard days. We've had some heartaches, more than enough. Long are these cold nights. Feels like there's no light, and fear says enough. But I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. I'm here to tell you, God will make you strong. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. trusted, and there is nothing that takes him by surprise. Oh, you, a child, you aren't forsaken, so don't be shaken. Just lift up your eyes. Oh, I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. Oh, I'm here to tell you that my God will make you strong. If all you got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step, I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. Oh, I'm here to tell you, God will make you strong. Yes, He will. And if all you got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step. If all you've got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step, I'm here to tell you, oh, just keep on keeping on. And these temporary, momentary troubles will fade one day, but God is working eternal glory. We'll know it when we see His face. Oh, I'm here to tell you, oh child, just keep on, just keep on keeping on. Oh, I'm here to tell you, oh, that my God, He will reach down and He will make you strong. And if all you've got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step, I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. I'm here to tell you that my God will make you strong. Yes, He will. If all you got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step. If all you got left, child, just one more breath, or rise up in faith, take one more step. The devil don't want you to, but if all you got left is just one more step, then rise up in faith and take one more breath. If all you've got left is just one more breath, or rise up in faith, or take one more step. If all you got left, lift up your voice and rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. I'm here to tell you that God will make you strong. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. And these temporary, momentary troubles will fade one day, but God is working eternal glory. We'll know it when we see His face. I'm here to tell you, oh, just keep on. Oh, I'm here to tell you, God will make you strong. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. I'm here to tell you, God will make you strong. And if all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. I'm here to tell you that God God will make you strong. Yes, He will. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on. If all you've got left is just one more breath, rise up in faith, take one more step. I'm here to tell you, keep on keeping on.
First Corinthians 7. Praying early this morning. Felt empty for tonight, and the Lord started dealing with me on a message that I preached years ago, but we're going to teach it tonight. 1 Corinthians 7. This talks towards the end about when your children get ready to get married and different things concerning marriage, but you'll see how it deals with every area of life once we get into this. Let's start reading around 29. This I say, brethren, that time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not. And they that use the world as not abusing it, for the fashion of the world passeth away. But I would have you without carefulness, or without worry, is what that means. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, and how he may please the Lord. He that is married careth for the things that are of the world, that he may please his wife. There's a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. She that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, for that which is comely, and that you may attend unto the Lord, or upon the Lord, without distraction. That you may attend, that means to give your attention to God without a distraction. That's why we try to keep order in the sanctuary and try to keep the kids, if they get too loud. And the problem is a lot of times the parents are getting louder than the kids by getting on to the kid, and it's distracting. And we didn't come here to hear children cry. We come here to hear the Word of God. And we didn't come, Josh tells me all the time, I kept watching, and there was grown-ups just talking through the whole message. And they were talking just as loud as the preacher. Well, it's quiet tonight. Got your attention tonight. We didn't come here to hear somebody else's opinion about what's being said. We come to hear what's thus saith the Lord. And anything else is a distraction. And I don't know if you ever noticed it or not, but the devil loves to just flare up in church. He just loves to just flare up and just pitch a fit and do all kind of stuff. People love to run their mouths and do all kind of stuff right in the middle of church, because Paul said, when I would do good, evil is present. So the devil just loves to distract. He don't want you to hear what's going on up here. He don't want you to get into the songs, to the music. He just wants you to be distracted by something else. And if you don't think that a devil can torment a kid, you better think again, because it torments grown-ups a lot. And what do? You take them out, spank their little behinds, and pray over them and tell the devil to leave them alone and bring them back in. If they get loud again, you take them back out again. Because we're here to hear from God. Just remember that. Now, this is talking about something as sacred as marriage, as powerful and a great a thing as marriage is. And God said that, this I speak to you, that which is comely, or that which looks good, that you may attend upon the Lord without distraction. In other words, even a godly spouse that's a gift from God can be a distraction. You can at least burp tonight. How about that? That even a godly spouse can be a distraction. When I got looking into distraction, I thought it was something, because it's something that takes your attention away from what you should have your attention and directs your attention towards something else. It's literally what it means. Let me read to you what the dictionary says. Distraction is. Distraction, a thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. An extreme agitation of the mind or the emotions. Agitated of the mind and of the emotions. Just trying its best to get you to not direct your mind on what you should be thinking about, or your attention to where it should be given. And according to Paul, that could be a spouse if you're not careful. I thank God for my little wife, and I thank God that she has never tried to hinder me from praying or studying. And years ago, I used to just go lock myself up in the back bedroom for a couple of days and not come out except for just to use the bathroom and go back in there. And she never, ever tried to stop me from doing that. If you have somebody that really loves God and loves you, they aren't going to distract you from serving God. They're going to promote you serving God. They're going to want you to get closer to the Lord and not let anything else catch your attention. Now, what God did use as an example also throughout the Bible and didn't use the word distraction, was idols. To keep yourself from idols. And that's the same thing. Anything that you would give your attention, your affection, your time to can be an idol. Anything. It could be a hobby. It could be the internet. It could be a television. It could be a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It could be anything that causes you to not spend time with your God like you should. I heard Jensen Franklin talk one time, and I thought it was incredible what he said. The title to the message, he said, was, "It's time to throw the Game Boys away." And he said he had a unique opportunity to go pick up his son from school one day early, so he thought, man, this is great. I'll go pick up my son, and we'll go have ice cream and have a great time. He said he went to pick him up, and as soon as he got him in the car, he was sitting there playing on that Game Boy. And he said he looked at it, and he said first he had a good memory because he thought, man, we bought him that for Christmas. We gave him that. That was a gift from me and my wife to him to enjoy. And he said, now this gift is causing us to not be able to spend time. Quiet tonight. This gift that he blessed him with was coming in between him and his kid. Same thing can happen in your life. Things that you get that you feel like God has blessed you with. And it can be a spouse, and it can be children and everything else. But is it robbing you time with God? Is it robbing you intimacy with God? Is it causing you to spend more time with that or doing something else or distracted from what you should be doing instead of spending time with God? And that's why he said, Jensen Franklin, it's time to throw the Game Boy away, because that was causing just that little device that he, out of goodwill, gave to his child. And that his child was using the gift to come between him and the giver. If you're not careful, you'll let stuff coming between you and the giver of good things in your life. Every good and perfect gift cometh from above, from the Father of lights, with whom there's neither variableness, neither shadow of turning. And the gifts are perfect when God gives them to us, because we can let the gift come in between us and the giver. We can let the blessing of God come between us and the giver. We took Brother Cecil out in the boat the other day, and I asked him, I said, do you think God gave us this boat? Absolutely. I absolutely do. He said, I just checked the price of these up there, this very boat up where we come from. He said, I know how much these things are worth. He said, they sell for $150,000 to $175,000 for this boat. He said, I just checked the price of it. Oh, it's a gift from God. God blessed us with it, but I don't want to use it to come in between me and God. I don't want to be out on it when I should be here in the house of God. I don't want to be out on it on Sundays and enjoying the lake when I should be enjoying his presence. In his presence there's fullness of joy, and at his right hand there are pleasures evermore. And I don't know about other people, but if I miss a service, I feel like I miss something big. Because you never know what's going to happen in that service. Never know what's going to take place. And there ain't nothing on TV worth being distracted away from God for. There ain't nothing in the mall, nothing in the lake, nothing in the woods, nothing with a relationship with someone else that is worth being distracted for. God gave me the title to this message years ago. It was Distraction from the Main Attraction. The main attraction in your life is Jesus. What is distracting you away from him? What's catching your attention? Do you get more excited about going shopping than if somebody says, you ready to go to church? I guess. I'll go. Brother Jerry says a person don't backslide overnight. He said a lot of times their spirit backslides months before their body ever just quits church and walks away. You lose your interest, no excitement there. Don't get excited. I have had people call me before and say, tell me when we have the next revival. Okay, dry up and die until then, okay? Because we have a move of God every service. It's just what you are looking for. How interested are you in God for it or not? Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. God's telling us, seek ye first. That means foremost, the most important thing in your life should be God. When Tammy and Jim Baker had all the problems years ago and all that big mess with PTL, Jim Baker said later, I found out I made a mistake. I put God first and Tammy second, and I should have put Tammy second. And he lost Tammy. And he lost God for a while too. You don't put nobody above God. God's at the top of the list. And if he's at the top of the list, he'll help you arrange the rest of the list. My dad used to say, if you get your priorities in order and put God at the top, then he'll help you set everything else in order. But if he's not at the top, the whole list is going to be a mess. You don't care if you go to church or not. You don't care. Sometimes it appeals to people to have somebody that's a visiting preacher here because they want to be prophesied to. I said it right, prophesied. Lay hands on me. And a lot of times it's empty hands being laid on empty heads and people going home. I'm excited about coming to the house of God whether we're in revival or not. I'm excited being in the presence of God and worshiping like tonight. I'm excited about doing that. If I lose that excitement, something is distracting me. Something is catching my attention that shouldn't kept my attention. I mean, and it could be anything. Anything. I don't care what it is. It could be anything. Brother Hall used to say, if you don't make the people mad, sad, or glad, you have not obeyed God. Well, baby, I don't plan on missing church for a pet. Let the dog bark. I'm coming to the house of God. Let the cat get run over. I don't care. I'm coming to the house of God. It's a distraction if it keeps you from God. It's a distraction. Oh, some of you looking at me like Nancy Pelosi used to look at Trump. Remember how she tore up them papers behind him that time? Look like a devil. She was a devil. But I'm telling you the truth. Don't hate me because I tell you the truth. If you get more excited about doing worldly things than godly things, you're distracted. I think it was Demas that the Bible said, Demas has forsaken me, loving this present world more. He got distracted by something in the world, and it caused him to be just drawn out. Last several people that we know that's backslid out of church was distracted by things in the world, and now they're really bound by things in the world that they was distracted by before. And if you're not careful, that thing that's drawing you out will wrap you up and bind you up once it gets you out of the house of God. And then you'll have to have God to set you free. Oh, I hope you hear me. I feel his presence. that you may attend unto the Lord without distraction, that you may give your attention to God without anything else that's going to distract you or distract your mind or distract your attitude or anything else. And I don't care what it is, it could be a distraction to you. It also means a simple definition for distraction is something that turns your attention away from something that you want to concentrate on. And this is exactly what Satan wants for us. Satan loves distracted Christians. He doesn't care what that something is. He just wants to turn our attention away from the things of God. Just wants to turn us away from thinking about God, from having our mind on Him, our heart on Him, our affections and our attention on Him. And didn't He say to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength? And if you only love Him with half of your heart, then where's the other half at? If you only love Him and have an attention or an affection for Him, just part of it, how would you like it if your spouse looked you in the eye with a glimmer in their eye and said, I love you with half of my heart? You'd be wondering, where's the other half with the mailman? It's the truth. Where's the other half? And God, I wonder how many times He just sees us and we come and worship, and every once in a while we'll raise our hand. Like to hang out in the front and talk and do everything else, come into church late. If it was something you really wanted to do, like watch a movie or watch a football game or something like that, you'd be there early with bells on. But in the house of God, when the saints come dragging in, when the saints come dragging in, it's the truth. The synonym for the act of distraction, which means a word that's common that means basically the same thing, but it's just worded different. It is aberration. It's complication, confusion, disturbance, diversion. You know what a diversion is? A lot of times illusionists use that to catch your attention and cause your eyes to be somewhere where it's not, and then they can hide something or pull something out of their pocket, and you're diverted away from looking at what you should be looking at, and you're diverted to look at something else. Agitation. The devil just work on you and just torment you to try to get you to where you won't think the things that's right. You'll sit in church and be tormented about what's going to happen tomorrow, when God holds tomorrow. Be in church and be tormented about what happened today. And after you get home, you'll find out that all your torment didn't fix a thing. All your worry and all your concern didn't fix one thing. It just distracted you from thinking about God. Just kept your attention away from God. It also means beguilement. You know what beguilement means? It means to deceive or to distract you, to trick you. It means bewilderment and commotion, disorder and dissipation, engrossment, entertainment, frenzy, or a game or a pastime. Entertainment's something a lot of churches are just nothing more than a Hollywood entertainment social club. No more is it just a place where you come and worship God. And if they can't come in and get entertained, they leave, and they'll find somebody that'll entertain them. We ain't here to entertain nobody. We're here to worship God. We're here to set our affection on things which are above and not on things which are beneath. We're here to worship Him in the Spirit and in truth. And Jesus said the true worshipers will do that. Not just in the Spirit, but to worship Him in the truth also. I like this when I read this. It said Martha was distracted with much serving when she was just taking care of Jesus. Then Jesus said that Mary was doing the right thing in so many words. She wasn't so distracted. So it was a good thing to serve Jesus and make sure He had the food that He needed and the drink that He needed and to make sure He had the things that He needed. It was a good thing, but it was the right thing to worship Him, what Mary was doing. She was distracted. And it says right here in these little notes that Martha wasn't avoiding Jesus because she was Snapchatting her boyfriend so that her dad didn't approve of. She wasn't dodging Jesus because he was a kingpin of a drug empire and wanted to shirk God's commandments, or she was too busy. You know, you can get too busy and be distracted too. Well, I've had people, I cannot tell you how many people I've asked about coming to church, and they say, I'm just so busy. I said, you ain't no more busy than us. But when it's 7 o'clock on Thursday, we plan on being in the house of God. When it's 10 o'clock on Sunday, we plan on being in the house of God. When it's 6 o'clock, we plan on being in the house of God. And I know you sometimes have car breakdowns, and sometimes you get sick, and sometimes you have the water mess up at the house or whatever. But I'm just talking about as a general rule, you got to be so faithful to God that you show him you're committed and you're going to serve God with everything that's within you. Heard a Baptist preacher say, and I quoted the verse the other night about how he said in the last days that the love of many would wax cold. And I heard a Baptist preacher say this one time. I never forgot it on the radio. He said the love of many would wax cold. Love requires a commitment. And what he was saying is the commitment of many would wax cold. No commitment anymore. They're more committed to their job than they are to their God. They're more committed to their own fleshly desires, more committed to the gym than they are coming to the house of God. Well, it's quiet tonight. It's all right. I don't need you to play the organ when I'm teaching or preaching. I don't need you to clap. Nothing. You just sit there and be quiet and listen. How about that? I've said it before and I'll say it again. When the Lord gives me something he wants me to bring out, then I know that I need to bring it out. Look at Acts 15 and 20. This can be related to a lot of different things. I've seen people that idolize vehicles, spent more time on their vehicle than they did reading the Word of God. Seen more people, a lot of people use a lot more time on what they want to do than what God wanted. I've seen people sleep more, a lot more than what they should. I've had people say before, we can't come to church on Sundays because that's our day off and we just sleep during that day. Okay. Let's see if your sleep will deliver your kids when they get on drugs. See if your sleep will deliver your marriage when it's falling apart. Let's see if it'll just help just drag it right out of the clutches of hell. Acts 15 and 20. You got to be like David when David come down and sing Goliath and everybody else was wimping out. He said, is there not a cause? You got to have a cause in your life that pushes you to church more than the cause that wants you to stay away from church. Got to have a cause in your life that'll push you into your prayer closet that's greater than the slothfulness that'll keep you out of your prayer closet. Got to have a cause in your life that's so strong it'll push you to fast when your flesh just wants to feast all the time. Acts 15 and 20. But that we write unto you that you abstain from the pollution of idols and from fornication, from things strangled and from blood. Idols, of course, means anything that you would give your reverence to or your time to. And it's something to think about. You might say, I don't bow down to that and worship that. Do you spend a lot of time with it? Then it can be an idol. Do you spend a lot of effort on it? It could be an idol. Whatever it is. I mean, we had people years ago used to criticize me and a friend of mine because we would go fishing a couple of hours a week. Or maybe sometimes for the Saturday, but they would spend hours and hours and hours on crafts and never made no money from it. At least we was putting fish on the table. Let me see you eat that yarn. It's not very good. Go ahead and eat that paper mache. Tastes like your teenage girls cooked it for you, probably. I mean, you can get far off balance with anything. The Bible said the false balance is abomination to the Lord, but the just weight is his delight. You can get off balance with anything, too far to the left, too far to the right. You got to keep a balance in your life. I mean, I've had preachers, one a while back, tell me, said, Brother Tom, you tried to get me for years to start taking my kids and take them fishing and spend some time with them. And he said, I see now in the latter part of my life that it's something that I love and that I should have started many years ago. Not just taking them to church, but spending time with them too outside of church. having priorities in order. If you're not careful, if you're not spending time with your kids, somebody will. If you're not doing things with them, then somebody from the world will. I mean, I've read and I've noticed it too, how a lot of times the gays will move into a church and stuff and try to take youth positions and stuff like that and get on baseball teams and become coaches and bat boys and stuff just so they can get around the little boys and start molesting them. They target our kids and say, I want to get a hold of them young kids. If you don't spend time with your kids and prioritize like you should, the world's going to spend time with them. If you don't just rebuke devils off of them, then God, don't get upset later on in life if you don't spend time with them. You don't set a godly example. You don't take them to the house of God and just be the example they need. They don't need somebody to tell them to pray as much as they see you praying. They don't need somebody just to tell them to read as much as they just watch you read. I watch my dad and I watch my mom growing up, and I watch their example, and I watch how they was excited to go to church. We had a revival when we lived in Vero Beach. There was a revival up in north of Melbourne there, which was about an hour and a half one way, lasted 12 weeks, and they've never missed a service. 12 weeks. Brother Brookshire said that he had some of his church people used to beg him, can we please have a revival? Can we please have a revival? Then when he scheduled a 4-night revival, same people would come up to him and say, can we have a night or two off in this revival? No, you're off. We don't need a night or two off. It's you that's off. If you ask for a revival and then you can't go 4 nights in a row to the house of God and something's wrong with you, you're distracted. They went 12 weeks, and they said many times they didn't have the money to go. They didn't have the gas to be able to go and get back, but they would go by faith, and somebody would always slip them a little bit of money and say, here, I felt like giving you this tonight. And they went all 12 weeks every night. That speaks something to me. And then when we started going to Fort Pierce Church, we lived in Fellsmere. We was about an hour and a half away, and we never missed a service except for the night that I got put in jail. My school bus got put in jail. I can explain that later to you, but the whole school bus got took to jail. And my dad come in there mad. He stepped in that jail room where we was all. They put us in this little thing right outside the cells to hold all the kids. And when my dad come in there, he was mad. He started yelling. He said, you're causing me to miss church to be here. He didn't say he caused me to miss watching a movie. Oh, I hope you hear me. Stuff like that's molded me and shaped me to be faithful and to love God, to have a determination in my heart to serve God. The day that our boat broke and messed up, the runner on the boat trailer messed up that morning, and the boat sunk right down into the tire, and the tire rubbed a hole right into the bottom of the boat. Caleb said, give me a few minutes and we'll go ahead and fish this morning. He went to Home Depot, bought some peeling stick and a torch, and torched the peeling stick on it. We fished that morning with a big hole in the boat. If we can be that determined to fish, how much determined do we need to go to the house of God? We get up and look outside. It's sprinkling. I think I'll stay home and watch live stream tonight, darling. No, take darling and go to the car. If there was a blue light special, you'd go if there was a hurricane outside. It's the truth. If it's something you want to do, if you was going to Disney World, you'd go and just let it rain on you. Coming to the house of God will let just anything distract us and keep us from being in the house of God. But you need to be like Joshua and say, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We're going to do what God wants us to do. We're going to live for him. We got to see with Brother Aaron, and I remember the years ago when and I told Brother Jeff and them this, I had a tent ministry one time. It was for one revival. One revival. Me and Chuck, my brother, bought a tent from Brother Jerry, went up to West Virginia and brought it back. And We set it up one time at the fairgrounds, and we went through all kind of stuff to set it up. I mean, bringing it from Fort Pierce over here, had a flat tire and almost wrecked the truck doing it because the tent was heavier pretty much than the truck was, and all the chairs in the trailer. And jumped up onto the fender well to try to get something out of the back and slipped and fell into a mud puddle and cut my hand wide open. We get there and set the tent up finally and start the generator. Had never given us a minute's problem, and sitting there running for about a half an hour and throws a rod through the side. And I'm like, man, I don't know if this tent ministry is for me or not. We went and bought a brand new generator for that revival from Lowe's. We went and bought a brand new generator, and after the revival was over with, we gave it to Brother Brookshire. Brand new, one meeting it was used. Storm come through and ripped the main seam right through the tent. Ripped it right apart. One tent revival, I was a tent evangelist. One of them. The thing about it is, we didn't sit down and have a pity party. Looked like somebody licked the red off of our sucker. We said, we're going to do this because we felt like that's what God wanted us to do. You got to be determined in your life. Got to be like Brandon preached last Thursday night. You got to fight and be willing to fight. This thing ain't going to come automatic. You got to be willing to stand against the forces of hell. Got to be willing to stand against everything that's laughing at you, every devil that laughs at you and says you ain't going to do it. Brother Brookshire said there was a cable across the front of this one church that they used to have hang a curtain on when they had Christmas programs. And this guy got up and started running on the top of the pews and hit that cable right across his neck and fell straight to the floor. Somebody ran straight up to him and said, "Did God tell you to do that, brother?" And he said, "No, the devil told me that I wouldn't do it." He was not going to be dared by the devil not to do something, even if it put him on his back and hurt him. I mean, most of us, the devil says huff and puff, and we just want to give on up. We stub our toe coming out of the house, and we're ready to just go back inside. Oh, the tire ain't got much air. You drive it flat to Walmart, but you can't put a little air in it and come to the house of God. What's distracting you tonight? What has got your attention? What's the idols in your life that's caused you to be so distracted away from the main attraction in your life, the Lord Jesus Christ? Is it a job or whatever? Watching these dumb, and I mean dumb, Hallmark movies we have to watch with my little sweetheart? But just last night, Joey, don't laugh too much, buddy. Just last night, these people are stupid. I'm telling you, they're stupid. Because they'll find the love of their life and say, I just haven't got time. My career means more than that. Well, I hope your career keeps you warm at night. I hope it cooks your bacon and eggs in the morning. And I hope you enjoy snuggling with it. It's the truth. I tell Rachel all the time, I said, these guys are wimps. These people on here are stupid. Because they just won't say, well, I'm in love with them, I'm going to get together with them. They beat around the bush until they're about to lose them, and then all of a sudden the writers turn it around to where mysteriously, miraculously, they kiss, and it's all done. And the best part about the whole movie is when it says, the end. It's the truth. Where's the Christians that'll make up your mind? Set your face like a flint. Say, I don't care how much the devil's fighting me. If he's fighting me, it's because I'm doing something right. If he's coming against my family, it's because we're doing something right. Thief cometh not before to steal, to kill, and to destroy, but I come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. The thief ain't going to go to the hood to steal something. They ain't got nothing. The thief ain't going to try to kill somebody that's already dead. He's not going to try to take something or destroy something that's not there. He attacks the Christian. But I love what Jesus said, but I come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. Somebody started coming to church at Cedar Plaza. Hadn't been to church in a long time and got there that night, and the car wouldn't start that night after church. So Rachel and I went up there with our money, not church money, with our money, went up and bought them a brand new battery and put it in their vehicle and said, here you go, now start coming to church. And the wife said, every time we do, everything bad happens in our life. We start making a start for God, and everything bad happens. Okay, let's just all commit suicide and leave here then. How about that? No. If you're going to buck up against God, why can't you buck up against the devil? If you're going to rebel, it's all right to be stubborn if you're stubborn against the devil. Just don't get stubborn against God. And if God put a determination in you to get a degree or to finish your education or to get in shape and go to the gym or to be in a marriage where you have to fight tooth and nail just to make it work, where's your determination at to serve your God? Where's that grit that you got where you just say, I don't care how much I hurt, I'm going to the house of God. I don't care what's coming against me, I'm going to the house of God. I don't care who don't like me there, I'm going to the house of God. Let's use a name. How about Ron? We'll use Ron's name. Years ago, I had a person tell me, I'm just going to quit church. Now we're substituting a name here because of Ron. I just can't get along with him. I don't know what it is, just can't get along with him. And I said, well, the devil and Jesus is going to make sure that there's a Ron in every church that you go to. Because the devil wants to make sure there's a Ron there so you'll quit that church too and eventually just totally quit church altogether. God wants to make sure there's a Ron there so you get over it. Read Revelation 7 different times. To him that overcometh will I grant. And he grants something to those that overcome. Overcome means to get over it. I felt the Holy Ghost when I said that. You get over it and you just keep going with God. And make sure, somehow we'll go other places. We go fishing a lot, and a lot of times there's jerks out there fishing, but that don't make us say, I ain't never going to go fishing again. Because they was mean to me. They looked at me funny. They didn't treat my kids right, so I'm just going to quit going fishing. No, suck it up, pull your diaper up, and make up your mind that you're not going to be distracted by nothing while you're trying to serve God. I mean, no matter what happens and what comes and goes, I've been distracted and all kinds of stuff. One time I preached right here in this town, and the pastor, granddaughter and her son sat on the front row. When I got done preaching that night, they left a note that they passed between each other on the seat, and I picked it up just to throw it in the trash, and it said, I wish I would have just stayed home tonight. It's the truth. There was somebody in Fort Pierce used to fold out their newspaper and read it when I would start to preach. Make me want to bring a lighter to church. The truth. Or some sparklers. I had to preach in a church in North Florida. And it was the church got messed up from a tornado. They was having church in the fellowship hall. They didn't have a floor in it. It was all dirt floors. And before church that night, there was a monsoon hit. I mean, a monsoon hit. And there was like a stream coming straight down the middle row and gathering up around the pulpit. And I had to stand in 8 inches of water and preach. I mean, you're going to have all kind of distractions try to catch your attention. But you got to make up your mind who you're looking at, who you're listening to. Make up your mind you're not going to let nobody or nothing distract you away from serving your God. You got to have a desire and a boldness. You young preachers, I remember how it was when I was just starting to preach. I would have such a visitation from God when I was praying. I mean, he would give me something powerful, and I'd get up behind the pulpit, and there wasn't no presence of God nowhere. I'm like, where are you at, Lord? You gave me this so powerful. And now you're in Georgia or somewhere because you sure ain't here. I mean, that happened 4 or 5 or 6 times. But I'd have people still come when I couldn't feel God's presence and couldn't feel what the feeling that he gave me when he was dealing with me to preach. I'd have people come up and say, you don't know how much I needed that, and I was ready to give up, but what you said really helped me. And you just find out you don't have to have a chill bump to obey God. You don't have to have a chill bump to know that God's in the place. He said, I'll never leave you. So if you don't feel him, he's still there. And if you don't see any manifestation, he's still there. So you can't be distracted by nothing or by no one. You just got to obey God and listen to what God says in every part of your life. Got so many scriptures here that we need to go into a few more tonight. Look at 1 Corinthians 12 and 2. If you don't like how blunt that I get, sometimes you wouldn't like Paul or Jesus. First Corinthians 12 and 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ignorant means unlearned. It doesn't mean stupid. It means unlearned. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led. Led, carried away unto these dumb idols. Think about Israel. Think about the nations that they fought. Think about the god Dagon. Half fish, half man. Sounds like a mermaid to me. Or a merman. Or a mer-democrat. I don't know what it was. Half fish, half man. When they brought the Ark of the Covenant into the Dagon's temple, poor widow Dagon, he fell face first that night and got woke all up. So they had to pick Dagon up and fix him and stand him upright. And the next night he fell backwards and got broke all up again. Because the real God stepped into that false God's temple. You know something? The people that served Dagon still wouldn't turn away from him. They still served Dagon. Because they would rather serve a dead, dumb, blind God who can't see, feel, or hear than to serve the true and the living God. And this world is so into their dumb idols. Dumb because they don't know nothing. Walk up to any time you ever see a statue over across the street from the new church property. Walk over there and walk into those little shrines that they have down the Catholic church thing with all the idols in there. Walk up to them and see if the dumb idol will talk to you. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's dead. It has eyes, but it can't see. It has ears, but it can't hear. Hands, but it can't touch. Feet, but it can't walk. It don't know nothing. But guess what? I think it was Isaiah that said that the people that serve them are dumber than them. Why? Because they're serving something they know is dumb and doesn't talk, and they won't turn their back away from it and walk away. They're serving that knowing that it's incapable of doing what it needs and knowing that God can do everything that they need, but they refuse to turn away from it. That is the true definition of a distraction, is an idol for sure. That's why he said to cast down all idols and to serve the true and the living God. Because anything that would distract you away from serving God, I don't care what it is. And some people may say, but Brother Tom, what about the idols of Judah, or the idols of Jude and different ones in the Bible? They was biblical men. What about Paul? What about Jesus? The Bible said, Exodus 20, not to make a graven image of anything on the earth or in the heaven. Not to make an image of anything there or anything here. In the first place, they don't know what Jesus looked like, and he wasn't a feminine hippie. I'm going to tell you that right now, because he said it's a shame for a man to have long hair in his word. So he wasn't a little feminine, sissy hippie. It's quiet tonight. They don't know what he looks like. In fact, Isaiah said if you were to look at him, there was no beauty that you should desire of him. You'd probably look at him and think, boy, he looks pretty rough. But he would look pretty good to me because he's the God that saved me and delivered me. I don't care what the world thinks. He didn't come to try to fill some Hollywood spot. He come to save our souls. And anything that would distract us away from him, all the different things they did and everything, they started serving Absalom. Because Absalom was a handsome young man, David's son, and they started just wanting to follow him because he was a handsome boy. Then I heard a preacher preach the message called The Day the Hippie Got Hung, and when the locks of his hair hung him in the boughs of the tree, and he couldn't get down, and he died that day. Because they would idolized somebody that looked good over David, his dad, that was good with and right with God. I mean, you could, if you're not careful, same thing happened with John the Baptist. That with John the Baptist's little Herod's daughter, I think it was, come up to him and said, if you give me the head of John the Baptist, then I'll dance for you. And he'd rather have the dancing girl in his life than the prophet of God. This society's the same way. They'd rather have the dancing girls than the prophets, but I say, you can keep all the dancing girls. I want the prophets in my life. I want God's people and God's anointed in my life. And nothing to distract me away from it. Anything that could come between you and God. It could be anything. I mean, anything. When I have people say, I can't pray, I just don't ever have time. You have to make time. You have to set aside a time. You have to say, this is going to happen no matter what. I don't care if my grandma calls, I'm going to pray, and she'll have to wait till after the call's over with, after I'm done praying. You have to set aside a time, or else it'll be then that you have friends come over that you ain't seen in 30 years. My dad said every Sunday night seemed like a Sunday afternoon, just before they was getting ready to go to church, he would have loved ones drop in and people that he ain't seen in years drop into the house. And he said he missed church a couple services until he realized what was going on. Then he would tell the people, listen, we're going to church. You can go with us, or else, we'll lock up and all of us will leave together, but we're going to church. You're going to have it happen to you. And then some people say, well, I can't hurt their feelings. Well, how do you think God feels? If we sell him out to talk to somebody that we ain't seen in years. I think we think God don't have feelings and don't have emotions too. He's the one that created our feelings and our emotions. He's the one that made us. He created us in his likeness and in his image. And then we just think that God doesn't feel hurt or feel pain. The song that Brother Tony used to sing, am I causing him pain? If I am, then I must change, because I just can't bear the thoughts of hurting him. Does he still feel the nails every time I fail? Does he hear the crowd say, crucify again? Am I causing him pain? If I am, then I must change, because I just can't bear the thoughts of hurting him. He is a tender, loving God, but don't think that he's so stone cold that he doesn't have feelings. Don't think that that's why I'm convinced that's why he got upset with the money changers and started turning their tables over. Because he watched these same dudes sit in church and probably fall asleep, but they got excited about making money in church. They was selling the doves. They was selling the sacrifices and selling them to people. And they was probably really getting excited. Ooh, here's some more money. Ooh, they watched them get excited. The same dudes that was probably dozing off in church when a regular church come around. And David prophesied it before it ever happened. The zeal of the Lord's house hath eaten me up. And the zeal right there is where we get our word. Zealous is where we get our word jealous from. Look it up. It means to be hot with desire. He got so burned up inside of him because people was getting more excited about making money than being in the presence of God. You don't think he has feelings? He does. And you don't think he recognizes when we would rather do something worldly than do something spiritual. I don't think he recognizes when we make all kind of excuses. We know where we should be, but we're trying to find a reason. God showed me years ago, when we first come to God, we found an excuse to go to church. Now we find excuses to miss. Hebrews 10, 24, 25, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, and as that day is approaching. Very next verse, if we sin willfully after receive the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. Forsake right there doesn't mean, it means not to neglect coming to God's house. Don't neglect it. Now, like I said earlier, this ain't for every occasion, because sometimes you do get sick and sometimes the kids get sick. And we don't want you to bring them throwing up. We want you to keep them at home. Or you stay at home and don't come throwing up. I've had people literally in the front foyer say, Brother Tom, I'm sick, but I'm not telling nobody. Great. Okay, hug me then. Literally, I've had them tell me that. I know we ain't supposed to be here, but I'm sick. Great. Where's your COVID mask? It's the truth. I mean, I know there's times, and the devil will, Brother Cecil said it Sunday night, the devil will just try to mess up your car and everything he can when it's church time. But you got to have a determination. Nothing's going to distract you from God. Nothing's going to cause you to just sell God out and go do something else. You have got to be in the house of God. I've also noticed this. It's amazing. Like Jesse with their doctor's appointments, almost every one of them's on a Thursday. You ever notice how almost every school function is on a Thursday? The devil just don't want us in church so many different times. He just don't want us here. Why? Because you are getting fed. And you need the spiritual bread and meat and milk of the word, or else you get weak and you will falter and fail. And what Jesus told Peter, I prayed for you. The devil wants you that he may sift you as wheat, but I prayed for you that your faith fail not. So you got to keep feeding yourself. And the problem is, if you are that in a bad mindset and feeling just low in your spirit, you're probably not going to feed yourself at home. You're not going to have enough discipline in your life to feed yourself and get spiritual food at home, or to listen to a preacher, or to listen to the right preacher and get fed. So that's why we have to be in the house of God as much as we can. Remember what Hebrews 10:24 said, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, and as that day is approaching. In other words, as the day of the Lord gets closer, you don't start laying out more, you start coming more. You don't start neglecting more, you start coming more. And I remember here Brother Hall, in the last part of his life, these men of God shaped my walk with God and helped shape my determination. Because when he had cancer in 2 different places in his body, they'd wheel him in a wheelchair and he would still talk and preach. And he said, I am too old in my life, his early 80s, he said, I am too old to preach compromise. I have to be closer to preaching truth now than I've ever done. We know that the day of the Lord's got to be soon. We know it's got to be close. So why do we want to goof off right here at the end? Need to tighten up. Need to absolutely tighten up in our life and make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row and get ready to go be with the Lord. The main thing is get our priorities in order. And listen, God understands and God loves and God's patient and God's kind and God's merciful. But don't think God's stupid. He knows and he recognizes when somebody's trying to pull the wool over his eyes. He knows. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had people tell me before, when we was in Cedar Plaza, this one woman used to tell me, I just can't come to church on Sundays. I'd come by Walmart and see her truck leaving Walmart after church on Sunday morning. We had another woman that lived right out by, trying to think of the name of the road there. It wasn't but about 1.5 miles from the church. She said, I just haven't had the gas to come in about a month. And she come and said, I took my granddaughters to West Palm shopping the other day, and we just had such a great time. Where'd that gas come from? The angels come pour it in your car at night? It's the truth. You don't think God hears that? And he's not stupid, baby. He's all wise and all knowing. And he knows what's going on. I remember another guy said he wasn't never going to fish on Sundays anymore. And he got his boat out there on the lake on a Sunday, and a big storm hit, and he about sunk it. And he said, never again. I'm going to be in church again. God knows. God sees. And God will let some stuff happen to get your attention, just to set your affections on things which are above and not on things below. And to get your priorities in order. And that's what all of us need in our life, is our priorities set right. Amen.